Some interrogation methods didn't leave scars. They left people begging to confess things that never happened. Method 1. The strappado. The prisoner was not beaten at first. There was no screaming room, no blood on the floor, just a rope, a pulley, and silence. The strappado was designed to break the body without killing it quickly. It began with the prisoner's arms pulled behind their back, not loosely tight enough that the shoulders were already under stress. A rope was tied around the wrists. The other end ran upward through a pulley fixed to a ceiling beam. When the signal was given, the guards pulled. The prisoner was lifted off the ground by their arms alone. At first, the pain was sharp but manageable. The shoulders stretched, muscles screamed, tendons tightened, but the human body can endure an astonishing amount of strain before it fails. Then gravity did the rest. As the body hung, the shoulder joints began to dislocate, not all at once slowly, a dull, wet sound followed by a jolt of pain that made breathing difficult. The arms were no longer connected to the body in the way they were meant to be. That was only the beginning. In many cases, weights were tied to the prisoner's ankles. Even small weights multiplied the force pulling downward. With every second, the shoulders stretched further, nerves tore. Blood vessels ruptured. The arms went numb not from relief, but because sensation itself had been destroyed. Interrogators understood timing. They knew exactly when to lower the prisoner before death occurred. The body would be dropped just enough to prevent fatal damage, then lifted again. Over. And over. And over. Some victims were questioned between lifts. Others were lifted while being questioned, their answers punctuated by the sound of joints giving way. If the prisoner fainted, cold water revived them. Pain was useless if the mind escaped it. In extended sessions, the arms no longer functioned. Fingers curled inward permanently. Some prisoners survived the strappado, only to live the rest of their lives, unable to lift their hands to their own face. The method left little visible evidence. No open wounds. No broken bones on the surface. To an outside observer, the prisoner looked intact. Internally, the damage was catastrophic. Interrogators favored the strappado for one reason above all others. It broke resistance without leaving obvious marks. A body that could still be questioned tomorrow was more valuable than one destroyed today. Many never reached tomorrow anyway. Method 2. Water torture. Controlled drowning. The human brain has a simple rule. Air means survival. No air means panic. Interrogators exploited this instinct with precision. The prisoner was strapped to a bench, often angled so the head was lower than the feet. Cloth was placed over the face thin enough for water to pass through, thick enough to cling to the mouth and nose. Then the water began. At first, it felt like choking. The cloth trapped liquid against the face, forcing it into the nostrils and throat. Breathing became impossible. The body reacted instantly, lungs heaving, muscles convulsing, heart rate spiking. The brain did not understand restraint. It believed the body was drowning. Seconds stretched into eternity. Just as unconsciousness approached, the water stopped. Air returned. The prisoner gasped violently, lungs burning, chest convulsing. Relief lasted only moments. Then the water returned. Again. And again. This method was not about extracting information quickly. It was about resetting fear. Each cycle erased rational thought. The prisoner stopped planning resistance, stopped lying convincingly. The only goal became avoiding the next pour. Interrogators carefully monitored timing. Too long, and the prisoner died. Too short, and the fear dulled. Perfect timing kept the victim hovering between life and death, fully aware, fully terrified. After multiple sessions, the damage extended beyond fear. Water entered the lungs repeatedly, causing inflammation and infection. Some prisoners later died of pneumonia or organ failure days after the interrogation ended. Others survived but never slept normally again. They reported waking in panic, gasping for air, convinced they were drowning. The body remembered what the mind tried to forget. Water torture required no advanced tools, no electricity, no blades, just gravity, cloth, and patience. That simplicity made it one of the most widely reused methods in history. Method 3. Sleep deprivation. Sleep deprivation left no bruises, no blood, no scars. It was considered clean. The prisoner was placed in a brightly lit room. Lights never dimmed, sound never stopped. Sometimes it was loud, metal clanging, shouting, alarms. Sometimes it was quiet enough to be unsettling. Guards rotated in shifts. The prisoner never did. If the head drooped, it was snapped upright. If eyes closed, cold water followed. Standing positions were enforced for hours. Sitting was forbidden. Lying down was unthinkable. After 24 hours, the body weakened. Muscles trembled. Reaction time slowed. After 48 hours, perception fractured. The prisoner began seeing movement where none existed. Shadows pulsed. Sounds echoed without source. Thoughts became disorganized, looping endlessly. By 72 hours, the brain started turning against itself. Hallucinations appeared. Faces in the walls. Voices whispering instructions. The prisoner could no longer separate memory from reality. Questions felt like accusations. Accusations felt like facts. Interrogators waited until this point. They did not need to threaten violence. The prisoner's own mind provided terror enough. False confessions were common not because the prisoner wanted to lie, but because the concept of truth had collapsed. Extended deprivation caused lasting damage. Hormone systems failed. Immune responses dropped. Some prisoners suffered permanent psychosis. Others experienced memory loss so severe that they forgot their own names. Sleep deprivation worked because it dismantled identity itself. A body could endure pain. A mind without rest could not endure existence. Method 4. Stress positions. The human body was not designed to remain still under strain. Interrogators exploited this limitation with precision. Prisoners were forced into positions that appeared simple: squatting, standing on toes, arms extended outward, kneeling with the back straight. At first it felt manageable. Uncomfortable, but survivable. Minutes passed. Muscles burned. Hours passed. Tendons screamed. Blood pooled in the legs. Joints swelled. Cramping became constant. The body begged for movement, but movement was forbidden. If the prisoner collapsed, they were forced back into position. Sometimes beaten, sometimes shocked awake. The position resumed. Stress positions did not attack one part of the body. They attacked everything simultaneously. Circulation failed. Nerves compressed. Muscles tore under their own weight. Kidney failure was common due to prolonged muscle breakdown. Mentally, the pain was relentless. There was no rhythm, no peak, just constant pressure without release. Interrogators favored this method because it turned time itself into a weapon. The longer the prisoner resisted, the worse the damage became. There was no dramatic moment of suffering, just an endless, grinding collapse. Method 5. Temperature torture. The room was either unbearably cold or suffocatingly hot. In cold chambers, prisoners were stripped and exposed to freezing air. Water was sometimes added to accelerate heat loss. Skin numbed. Fingers lost sensation. Shivering became violent. Eventually, shivering stopped. This was not relief. It was danger. The body's core temperature dropped. Confusion followed. Speech slurred. Consciousness faded in and out. Interrogators questioned during this phase, knowing the prisoner could barely process language. In heat-based torture, the process reversed. Air was stagnant. Humidity trapped sweat against the skin. Dehydration set in rapidly. Breathing became labored. Heart rate spiked. Both extremes disrupted the body's chemistry. Organs failed. Survivors often suffered permanent nerve damage or cardiovascular problems. Temperature torture worked because it bypassed willpower. No amount of discipline could force the body to regulate itself under unnatural conditions. Method 6. Sensory deprivation. The prisoner was placed in darkness, total darkness. Soundproofed walls. No light, no voices, no movement. Time disappeared. Minutes felt like hours. Hours felt like days. Without external input, the brain began creating its own stimulation. At first, it was harmless imagined sounds, fleeting shapes. Then it escalated. Voices accused, walls moved, panic attacks erupted without cause. The prisoner lost the ability to measure reality. Interrogators re-entered only after prolonged isolation. Their voices felt overwhelming, questions felt invasive, compliance came easily. Sensory deprivation did not hurt the body, it dissolved the mind. Method 7. Humiliation and dehumanization. Not all torture involved pain. Some involved erasure. Prisoners were stripped naked, mocked, forced to perform degrading acts. Their names were replaced with numbers or insults. Privacy was removed completely. The goal was simple: destroy identity. Once a prisoner stopped seeing themselves as human, resistance collapsed. Confessions followed not from fear of pain, but from the desire for dignity to return. The damage lasted long after release. Survivors reported chronic shame, social withdrawal, and loss of self-worth. Pain healed, humiliation stayed. Method 8. Threat, torture, psychological execution. Sometimes no physical harm was inflicted at all. The prisoner was told they would be executed. A date was given, a method described in detail. Guards rehearsed procedures, weapons were displayed, papers were signed. Then nothing happened. Days passed, weeks, the threat remained. The prisoner lived in a constant state of anticipation. Every sound signaled death. Every door opening ended the future. This method destroyed hope. When interrogation resumed, resistance was gone. The mind had already died. These methods were not accidents. They were refined, reused, rebranded. They worked because they understood something simple. A human does not break all at once. They unravel slowly, quietly, and completely. If this video held your attention, subscribe. More history exists like this, most of it hidden.